Cool. So I just want to see if everything is working right now. All the technique. Perfect. I see that that Cyberphoto has opened the session and saying hello, everybody. So I just want to say hello and welcome to this webinar. My name is Daniel Villadsen. I am an OM System ambassador and an outdoor photographer from Denmark. And tonight I want to share some photo tips with you. So hopefully you can get inspired to go and do your own photo adventures. As one of the things, I have just been out testing the new OM3 camera, and I'm gonna share some thoughts about this as well and some tips. And yeah, want to share a lot of photos and a lot of good experience that I have done throughout the years that hopefully can help you to go and get started with your own photography. So let's get into it. I have made a nice PowerPoint show for you guys, and I will do a little presentation by myself, and afterwards I will do some Q&A, but you're more than welcome to write all your questions in the live chat. I'm trying to have a look as well. I have some different devices here so I can try to stay updated, and otherwise there's a nice woman from OM Systems who's called Pernilla. She is in the chat as well, and she will be able to help out with answering some of the questions as well while I'm talking. But don't worry, there'll be a Q&A as well. So let's get into it. And first of all, the whole session is about how to improve your outdoor and travel photography. And I've been working with outdoor and travel photography tonight for many years, and I would like to enhance that tonight. The most important thing that I would like to give you is to give you some tips and tricks so that you can get inspired to go on your next photo adventure. The spring is coming. Right now it's winter still, but the spring is coming, and it opens a lot of new opportunities. So who knows? Hopefully there will be some amazing photos waiting out there to get captured and some great moments. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about tonight is, first of all, we're going to talk about some storytelling. We're going to talk about some photo gear and different photo tips. And then I would like to share some experience with the new OM3 camera that I'm trying to showcase here, that I've been testing out both in a street environment but also in the mountains in Norway. So, and then we do the Q&A, and by the end I also have a small present for you guys to hopefully help you get going with your next photo adventure. So stay tuned for the last part as well. And again, just want to say, use the live chat if you have any questions. I'll try to keep an eye on it as well. And otherwise, Pernilla will help out as well from OM System if you have any technical questions. Quick introduction. My name is Daniel. I live in Copenhagen in Denmark, and I've been working as an outdoor travel photographer for about 6 years. It's one of my big passions. It is the outdoors, and I used to study outdoor education in Norway and New Zealand, combined with sports science and health in Denmark as well. And back in 2018, I became an ambassador for OM System, or Olympus, that is as it was called back then. And ever since, I've been living from my passion with combining the passion for the outdoors together with photography. And these days I am working with a lot of different tourism boards around Denmark, such as Visit Denmark and Visit Norway, and different regional ones, visit departments in Sweden, together with the Visit Faroe Islands. Besides that, I shoot different sport events, such as Ironman, around both in Denmark and Sweden. And then I shoot photos for different outdoor and lifestyle brands when I'm out on my trips. And I'm also doing some wedding photography. So in all, this is actually storytelling that I'm working with every day, but in different settings. And some of the experience that I have over the years, I'd like to share with you tonight. So as an outdoor photographer, as I mentioned before, I have a big passion for being in the outdoors and doing different outdoor activities. And through that, I love to tell stories. I want to inspire others to go out and be more in the outdoors, be more in nature, and bring the camera with you as well to capture the moments. So one of the things that I really like to do is to go on different micro adventures. It could be some bikepacking trips, hiking trips, sea kayaking around Denmark, or as I've been doing recently, I just came home from Norway, where I've been to northern Norway and do some ski touring and some avalanche course. Because later this April, I'm gonna go to Greenland for the first time and do a ski and sail trip together with some friends on a really nice sailing boat that some of my friends they have up in Greenland. So I'm practicing right now for my next big adventure, and this includes a lot of smaller adventures as well. But I want to share some good tips with you that you can bring on your own micro adventures this winter and this spring. First of all, storytelling. For me, as an outdoor photographer, I would say that when I bring my camera, I'm telling a story throughout the experiences that I have on my different trips or just the environment that I'm in. First of all, I'm trying to illustrate a certain mood, a certain atmosphere. It requires that you are aware and are present in the situation that you are or in the environment that you are, and trying to take in all the details. And through the photos, I try to create a narrative that can invite the viewer inside and hopefully make them feel like they are almost there themselves. So when I get a camera in my hand, I would say, I especially remember some of the first times that I got a camera in my hand, I would say I was present, I was curious, I was noticing the details around me, and it felt like a really, really nice, great, fun, and yeah, kind of what can you say, relaxing way of being in the outdoors. Because it was a good combination of being together with friends or being just out doing a special outdoor activity, and then combining it with capturing the moments with the camera. So storytelling, I would say it's about the people that you meet, and it's about the places that you visit. It's especially the connection with nature for me as an outdoor photographer, and it's about the sensations that you experience on your travels and on your trips. Because back in the day, like in the end, I would say this all makes into turned into a memory, and it is those that you are gonna carry with you as well. So all these sensations, all these experiences creates the memories that you make. So first step, what gear do you need? Well, I would say a good starter kit is a camera, of course, such as the new OM3 camera from OM System or whatever other camera. Then I would say if you need to do some night photography or long exposures, I would say a tripod could be very useful depending on what you're going to use it for. There are plenty out there, but try to go for a lightweight one. And sometimes it's nice to have a small one that you can carry in a small backpack. Sometimes you need something that's a bit more sturdy, but it all depends on your needs. Then I would also say, together with the camera, it's super important to have some different lenses. I would say it's really nice to have a zoom lens, so you have some flexibility and some versatility. But also, if you want to take some nice portraits, I would say go for a prime lens as well, such as in this case, I would say right now I'm testing out the 17mm f1.8 Mark II. Otherwise, I would say the 25mm 1.8 is a really good lens. And otherwise, I would also say the sweet spot in between is the 20mm 1.4 lens. It's a nice, small, lightweight, and weather sealed lens that I've been using a lot on my trips. But all in short, a zoom lens and a prime lens is a really, really good combination to always bring with you. And when you're out there in the outdoors, it's really important to make sure to bring extra batteries, make sure that you have charged them already, and also bring backup SD cards. So all in all, this is a really good combo to have: a camera, a tripod, some different lenses, bring some extra batteries, and some extra SD cards. Then you are really good to go. quick story about how I started. Back in 2014, I studied outdoor education from 2014 to 2016. I was studying in Norway, and I got my first Olympus camera back in 2015. It was the EM5, the first version, together with the 12 to 50 millimeter and the 40 to 150 millimeter. I have tested it out on a lot of different outdoor trips. This photo is taken in Svalbard, where we were out on a 13-day expedition trip with backcountry skis and polk, where we pulled around 50 kilos, and we were sleeping in minus 20 degrees, and the camera worked perfectly fine. And the good thing, and the most important thing for me at that time, was that I needed a nice camera that didn't weigh too much or took too much space in my backpack, because I was bringing a lot of other outdoor gear on my trips, so I wouldn't have the space or the weight to carry a bigger camera setup. So ever since then, I've been using the EM5 Mark II and III, and actually all in all, I've been using all the different cameras that have existed since then, and I've been testing them out a lot on my different trips, both in the cold weather, but also in hotter conditions further south, or in Asia as well on my different travels. So both in the cold Arctic and also in the humid tropical environments. So the reason why I use the OM system camera setups is because as an outdoor photographer, as I mentioned before, I really need a lightweight setup that is not taking too much space and is really nice and travel friendly, and is possible to bring with me anywhere. In short, I would say it's really nice to ask yourself the question: do you want to bring the camera? Like, do you really want to carry it, or is it that light, or is it this light, just like the OM3 here, that it doesn't really matter anyway, because it takes so good photos and it doesn't take much space in your backpack compared to a bigger DSLR camera. It's compact and still offers really nice and high image quality. It has the really nice image stabilization, so I can bring my tripod for long exposures and night photography, but I can also do quite a lot of handheld photos, and you're gonna see that later. And one of the good things about this system is, when it's Micro Four Thirds system, it is really small lenses, such as this one, the 17 millimeter. It's really, really small. Some of the lenses weigh down to like 150, 200 grams, even less. So it's really, really nice and compact. And when I'm out in the outdoors, for example, my latest trip to Norway, we had I was on the avalanche course, where we were supposed to have a lot of nice snow, but it was very, very hot actually. So it was actually more wet than it was cold. So in this case, it's really important for me to have something that is weather sealed, so I don't have to worry about the camera gear when I'm out on my trips. So, boom. And the cool thing about having such a small camera is, especially when I'm out at weddings or at birthday parties or just together with friends, the cool thing is that I'm actually able to capture the moments nice and discreetly. So being able to capture those authentic moments is really precious for me to do, especially when I'm out working as a wedding photographer. Because as a photographer, in that kind of settings, you don't want to take much attention, but you really want to be able to capture the moments when they occur. And the cool thing about these cameras as well is that you can just bring a power bank with you, and then you can actually charge them by USB. So it's really nice and makes you more independent when you are traveling. But now I want to share some photo tips with you guys. So lean back and enjoy. And again, let me know if you have any questions. You're more than welcome to use the live chat. I am scrolling through slowly as well. So, just let me know, then I'll try to catch up later in the presentation. So general about photo tips, I would say one of the things that I have been learning throughout the years is the importance of composition and playing around with changing the different perspectives. We're going to talk about using the light and leading lights, and my favorite time of the day is the golden hour lights. I want you guys to be aware of playing with blurry foreground and of course get to know your camera a bit better so you know what capabilities you have to play with. And all in all, this creates storytelling. So when talking about composition, I would say think about what subject and what context you are photographing in. What is the setting, and of course, what is your intention or your story that you want to tell. In this case, I would say think about something like the rule of thirds. Are there any nice leading lines you could play with? Is it centered or off center, the subject, or do you have any foreground or background that you can play around with? In this case, as an example, the rule of thirds looks like this. This is something, some theory about what is most pleasant for the eye, for example. And this is really nice that you can play around with this. It's a nice creative tool to have with you. So have it back in mind when you're out taking photos. Besides that, you can also play around with the centered, like our eyes are drawn to whatever that is sharp and whatever that is bright in an image. So be aware of that. You can actually use it to your advantage. So in this case, we have the biker in the middle, and we have the dark green forest, and we have the bright area here in the middle where the viewer's eye would be leading to naturally. Something like this again, just an example as the rule of thirds. Here again, the same here, and in this case as well, we both have some grass here in the foreground, but we also have the landscape in the background to be able to set the subject, which is in this case the boat. Then if we're gonna set it into a context as well. So be aware of that when you're out taking the photos, or just look around when you're out on your next trip and see what kind of possible compositions that could be. Same thing here, leading lines and the light. And of course, perspective. I got this, found this nice model in the Faroe Islands where he was very curious and let me get quite close to him as well. So there are two different ways here that you can play around with, depending on what subject you're taking photos of course, but play around with the eye level. It makes it more direct versus getting low and getting a new perspective. Again, playing with the foreground in this case, like some of the grass, and see what kind of vibe you can tell. It's the same subject, two different photos, and in that way, almost two different stories you can tell. As a side note, these photos have been taken with the 20mm f1.4 lens. So yeah, be aware of this. Please, if you can see, then try to notice the sharpness and the blurry background, because in this way you can also play around with that, the depth of field and the aperture, in order to make the subject stand more out from the background as well. So this photo has been taken on f1.4 as a little side note. Another thing with the perspective here is to try to play with the foreground as well. In this case, I've taken the photo here of this hotel down in Switzerland, and it was in the autumn with the beautiful large trees. They were turning the whole mountainsides all yellow and orange, and playing around with some of the leaves in the foreground that made it blurry, makes our viewer, or the eye of the viewer, look for what is sharp and what is bright in the image, just like I mentioned before. So in this case, the viewer's eyes and then the viewer's attention is drawn to the subject, which is in this case the hotel, which is located here in the beautiful autumn forest in Switzerland, as you can see here as well. And again, notice the blurry foreground as well, and then we have the background in the back, the mountains, that in this case helps to put in the subject into a more bigger context. Another way of using perspective is to play around with the scale of the surroundings. So in this case, a person standing in this big vast landscape in the Faroe Islands, showcasing the size of the landscape and showcasing how small people are. I really love to play around with that when I'm out traveling, especially when I'm out where we have mountains. We don't have that much in Denmark, unfortunately. So especially it's more when I go to Norway or go to the Faroe Islands, for example. That I'm playing around a lot with that as well. but it's a really fun thing to play around with. A practical tip here is actually if you're taking the photo and you have your person on your model standing out there, then make sure maybe to bring a cell phone or maybe even like a walkie-talkie, because I have been on trips where we had the walkie-talkies, and it's so useful to be able to communicate, be like, stay, can you stay where you are, or can you step one step closer to the right or one step to the left in order for the composition. So it's way easier than trying to talk and showcasing and sharing hand signs instead. So bring a charged cell phone, or bring even like a walkie-talkie. It's a small tip, but it's super helpful, especially when you're out where the wind is blowing and it's far away from each other. So yeah, be aware of that as well. And another example here from the mountains of Lofoten, actually. So another thing is to play around with a wide angle lens. This is actually super fun, because in this way you can actually get more like a point of view, where you can actually draw the viewer into the photo and be like, boom, almost feeling like they are sitting there themselves. So bringing a wide angle lens, especially if you work with landscapes, it's a really nice lens to bring. I think it's a super fun and creative tool as well, both during the day, in this case like this, or actually if you take photos of the stars, then a wide angle lens is also really nice to bring, and I'll showcase that in a minute as well. But now we're going to talk a bit about light, because what is light? It's this is how we capture the photos, I would say. And my favorite light, I would say, is the golden hour or the blue hour that is happening around sunrise and sunset. The cool thing about especially the golden hour is that it creates a nice, warm and soft light. It's really good for creating this atmosphere, the most, like, what do you say, like more dreamy atmosphere, but also to take nice portraits as well, if you are more into that. So being able to use the light just before the sun goes down. Typically, you say that the golden hour is like an hour-ish before sunset, or an hour after sunrise, while the blue hour is the opposite. So in this case, also be aware of the time of the day that you're taking the photos, because depending on the season, if it's summer or if it's winter, then it can vary a bit. And of course, depending on where you are in the country or in the globe, it can also be very different from how long it will take. The photo on the left here is taken in Lofoten in northern Norway in the summertime. It's around 10-11 in the evening. And on the right here, this is a photo taken also in northern Norway, but this is taken in wintertime around noon, where the sun just lies just below the horizon. So we were having like a 4-hour long sunrise, I would almost say 4-hour long sunrise and sunset. So we had the beautiful pink cotton candy skies to the north here. It was such a beautiful sight. Again, trying to use the light here, depending on you're going for the blue hour or for the golden hour, for example. So try to tell your story with the silhouettes, for example. This photo is taken in Cappadocia in Turkey during a sunrise balloon trip, and playing around with the sky and the colors of the sky, then using the almost the silhouettes of the balloons helps to create some nice contrast, I think. The blue hour, as I mentioned before, it is a bit more opposite than the golden hour. This means that the blue hour is like an hour before sunrise and an hour-ish after the sunset. The cool thing about this is that it goes from the golden light that has a more warm, soft light, into more like the cold purple and pastel colored light as well, which is a really cool setting to be able to tell useful stories as well, and more create a nice atmosphere, I think. So when I'm out traveling, I would say around sunrise and especially around sunset, that is where I'm most active and most busy, I would say, because this is the most beautiful light that you get, and it's here that you can tell the really cool and beautiful stories. So when you have your camera, you have your starter kit, you have some idea about, okay, what you want to take photos of and what you want to do. But the thing is, you also need to go and check out the camera that you have and test out some of the features. So in this case, the new OM3 camera, I have been testing out that on my different trips, both here around in Copenhagen, in a more urban environment, but also to the northern Norway, where I've been ski touring, and in Voss near Bergen, in southwest Norway, where I've been on an avalanche course and also do some ski touring in the mountains. So, for example, depending on what camera you have, depending on what camera you want to play around with, check out what features does it have. In this case, we have the OM3 camera. It has the 20.4 megapixel resolution, but it also has the capabilities to do 50 megapixel or 80 megapixel handheld high resolution shots or a tripod. So depending on which one it is, it's handheld, then it's 50 megapixel and 80 megapixel with the tripod function. Besides that, it has a really nice 5-axis image stabilization, which I've been really happy with during my trips and playing around with handheld photos for long exposures, even up to taking photos of northern lights and stars up to like 3-4 seconds is not an issue. And besides that, it also has some nice video capabilities, 4K 60 frames per second. And one of the features that I really love to play around with and that I have been loving since it came in the EM1 Mark III, I think, it is the starry sky autofocus. In the beginning, before that, I was struggling sometimes with being able to focus properly on the stars and get sharp starry night sky photos. But after the starry sky autofocus came into the cameras, it's been such an easy way to just being able to put it on, take the photos, of course, with a 2-second delay. That's also a nice tip, because then you don't get any shakes when you press the shutter. So 2-second delay, take the photos with the starry sky autofocus, and then just lean back and just enjoy the stars yourself. And don't be aware, like you don't have to be over the camera all the time, but you can actually just lean back. And in this case, for example, when I was in Lyngen, I was taking photos of the northern lights. I could actually just put up the camera, make a time lapse of the northern lights, and I could just lean back and just enjoy it myself. It was really nice to be able to do that. Then also, in this case, the camera has some live ND and graduated ND filter as well built in the camera, which means that you don't have to carry around on extra filters in your bag. And then, of course, in the weather sealing, it is a must for me when I'm out on my travels, because I don't want to be afraid of having rain or dust or like frostbite. I would always say into the camera when I'm out on my trips and travels. And then a new feature, actually, which is the first time for me playing around with, that is this creative dial that the OM3 has. It's a really fun way to play around with, I think, and it has both the color and the monochrome, but also a color creator that so you can actually make your own presets almost in the camera, which means that you can, if you want, you can actually be able to take photos and have them almost all edited in your own style without having to spend time on it afterwards, which means that you can actually take a photo and then you can post it, or you can put it over on your phone with the smart app via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Then you can actually post it straight away without having to edit it at all. So this is actually a quite fun and new feature for me. So I'm more into playing around with that as well, and haven't done it enough. So I'm really looking forward to do that even more. So again, first of all, the weather sealing. I was so happy to have a camera with a lot of weather sealing when I was back in when I was up in northern Norway and also in southern Norway, because it was minus 15 degrees and it was heavy snow and heavy rain at some point as well, and there was a big chill factor as well. So I was out ski touring and I brought my camera on to some of the tops here, where I was, as you can see on the photo, I was just carrying it on my backpack. So it was out there getting the snow, getting the rain, and also getting all the frost as well. But as you can see on the photo down on the right, we had some stormy nights walking on skis with the head torches on. So it was definitely being tested out in these different conditions. And just as a side note, the lenses that I brought for my trip was the 12 to 200 millimeter and the 17 millimeter f1.8 Mark II, the new one, and then also the 12 to 45 millimeter. And then for the night shots that I'm going to showcase in a bit, I brought the 8 millimeter one f1.8 fisheye. So stay tuned for that. In Lyngen here, as you can see, the photo on the left, it was taken with the 8 millimeter f1.8, the fisheye. It was perfect for night shots. And then the other photo, as you can see, if you focus down on the bottom here, you can actually see there's a small fishing boat. It was just to showcase the scale of the mountains in Lyngen. It is a very, very unique and very, very scenic area with stunning, majestic mountains that you can go skiing on. And I was there together with some friends where we went out and did a lot of ski touring around the different mountains. And we had a lot of different conditions. For example, we had a lot of frost and wind chill when we were out hiking. So as you can see, we were a group of guys here, me on the right, and together with some of my friends from Denmark, the 3 guys here, and then 2 friends from France, who are the guys who are changing on the mountainside, as you can see. But yeah, as you can see, the weather was cold, and it was very windy on the top as well. But it was really, really cool, and everybody had a good time as well. Even though we skied down in whiteout, actually, it was quite tricky, but we came down safe. All good. So as you can see here, for example, this is an example of the star sky autofocus. It is taken with the 8 millimeter f1.8 and with 5-second shutter speed, and it was capturing one of the only starry skies we had during the trip. We had during the night where with beautiful northern lights, and we were so lucky to get that show. And I just made a time lapse as well that you can see on my Instagram with around, I think it was with around 600 photos. So yeah, so how, if you want to see how northern lights looks for about 15 minutes, cut down to 6, 7, 8 seconds, then you can go out and check it out. And we were just playing around with some of the angles as well. As you can see, the fisheye effect, it gets the horizon gets a bit distorted, but it's quite fun to play around with, especially because we had so much northern lights that it was passing by just above us. So it's just so magical when you can look straight up and then you have almost like a curtain just above you. It's very, very unique, I think. Then I played around with the high-res mode as well. I played around with it in Copenhagen, where there was just this light festival happening. So it was a great context to play around with it. And this is half a second, but taken with the high-res resolution. So even though it was dark and it was a quite low ISO, it was getting all the details in the castle here to play around with. So if you really want to get a lot of detail in your landscape shots, or in this case in this night shot, then the high-res mode is really, really cool to play around with. Then the Live ND, it is a really cool feature, I think, and I've been playing around with it, especially with waterfalls and with the rivers like this, or with the ocean waves. It's a fun way to play around and get like a blurry foreground and like a blurry motion in the photos as well. So I would say this is a really cool feature that I'm really happy that they brought into the camera, because normally I would have to carry around ND filters, and then especially in the cold, you don't necessarily want to stand there and like screw the filters on and off with cold hands, but actually being able to just have it inside the camera is really, really nice and actually very convenient to play around with. This is in Copenhagen in the urban setting, where during the day I've used the Live ND as well. Standing on one of the busy old bridges with bicycles and cars and buses driving by. In this case, it's 1.3 second handheld as well, with the Live ND 64. Which is the most dark ND filter that you can get in the OM3. So, and then we have the creative dial, as I mentioned before. So this one, I'm still playing a bit around with it, so I haven't played that much around with it yet, but I really want to explore it more. But as you can see in the photo, it has this creative dial here, and it's really nice and easy. Maybe you can hear it. It's nice and easy to use and to turn it over. So we have monochrome, we have color, we have the art, which is the art filters that it has in some of the other OM system cameras as well. And then we have the creative dial as well. I've mainly been playing around with the color and the monochrome dials for so far, but I really want to play around more with it, with the creative dial as well. Besides that, we have on the top, we have some different settings where you can actually customize your own settings as well, and where you can actually go in and fine tune the colors a bit more, so you have your own kind of preset as well. So this is a really cool feature that I definitely think that I would like to play around with more in the future, because being able to go on, for example, a short trip or a holiday, and being able to post or share photos on the go without having to edit them a lot on the computer, then it's actually really nice to be able to just do that straight away and like in camera. So that's definitely something that I would like to play around with a bit more. This is just an example of the color and the monochrome profiles as well to play around with, which is really nice. And then I would like to share a short video with you. I really hope that this sound will work as well. It should be, but I just want to share some different photo tips with you, just to sum up some of the photo tips that we've just been talking about here so far. And then afterwards we're gonna have a Q&A. So if you have any questions, let me know in the live chat, then I'll check it out. But for now, go check out the video here with some different tips. Cool. I hope that these tips are something that you can use as well. Let's see. So now let's do some Q&A, guys. I want to hear if you have any questions. You are more than welcome to write them in the live chat. Then I'll try to answer them as well as I can. And otherwise, I know that Pernilla from OM System is here to help out with more technical questions as well. So first of all, let's see. What do I think about the grip on the OM3 compared to the OM1 and earlier models? That's a really good question, because I was also thinking about that, how it would be. Normally, before that, as you can see here, I have my OM1 Mark II, which has a really nice sturdy grip and is really useful, especially when you use bigger lenses, I think. Or if you're using gloves, being outdoors in the wintertime, for example. I'm really happy with this, and it's really nice and sturdy. So I was very curious about this one, because as you can see, it is a flat profile. But actually, I would say it's way better than I thought. I'm used to the grip like this, with just like a one finger beneath, and then having the two fingers up here. I would say, even though it doesn't have a grip like the OM5 has, then I would say it's actually quite nice and comfortable. And the thumb grip is really important for that, because it makes it way more sturdy. And you can actually use the creative dial a bit, I think, to get a bit sturdy as well. And especially using it with smaller lenses, I think it's not a problem. Even on the trip to Lyngen, I brought the 12 to 200 millimeter, which is, of course, as you can see, a bit bigger. But it wasn't a problem to use that with the grip here as well. So, and even that was actually with gloves. So it's actually better than I thought. And yeah, I would also say it's just also a bit about getting used to it as well, of course, because coming from the OM5, which is the camera kind of, that model is what I started out with, then going to the bigger one, which is the OM1, and then going to the new one. Of course, you have to get used to it, but I actually think it's really nice. So I'm actually quite happy with it. Another question is, do you record in both RAW and JPEG? Yes, I do. In this case, I especially do. Normally I record in RAW, but with the creative dial, I would say doing in RAW and JPEG, I think it's really nice to be able to have the creative opportunity to do the JPEGs, which is, let's say I take a photo in monochrome, in black and white, then I have the JPEG in black and white, but I still have the RAW photo in normal colors. So that is really nice to be able to have that flexibility. Besides that, a practical thing right now is that since I got this camera to test out before it was released, then normally I used Lightroom Classic for my editing, and Lightroom, depending on if I'm on the go, then I'd use Lightroom on my cell phone or on my iPad. But most of the time I used Lightroom Classic, and the issue is that since the camera is so new, then Lightroom hasn't been updated yet, so I could use and edit the RAW files. So all the photos that you see taken with the OM3 is actually JPEG that have either straight from camera or has got a little touch in Lightroom. So in that case, I would say normally I shoot RAW always, but in this case, I think I might go over and start shooting RAW plus JPEG just to be able to have the creative opportunity of using the color profiles and all that. Another question is, let's see, how's the performance of the video? I've been filming a bit with it, and it's I haven't tested it. I haven't been working with the video that much yet. I haven't had the time because I've been so much on the different trips, but I have been filming with it, and so far I would say it's working really, really good. As you might have heard before, the OM3 is a nice sweet spot in between the OM5 and the OM1. The OM1 sensor is the same in here, so in that way you can say that at some point it's like a smaller version, or like a compact, compressed version of the OM1 into a smaller body. So, but the video is working really good, and the autofocus is also working really good, I think, with it. And so it's really nice to be able to have all these features in this small, lightweight body. Another cool feature is that the fact that it's actually using the same batteries as the OM1, which is really nice to be able to actually like streamline your setup, or at least it's really nice for me that I can streamline my setup, that I can use the same batteries for the OM1 as I can use for the OM3. This means that it also has a lot more photos in it. It has more longer battery life than the OM5, which is also a really, really nice camera, I would say. It just has some smaller batteries, so it has a bit lower capacity in that way. But yeah, it's one of the nice features as well, actually. And then, of course, the fact that they have put a USB-C in it as well now. So it's really cool. Let's see. Are there other... Let me know if you have other questions. Otherwise, I will continue a bit, and then we also do some more questions by the end as well. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I think that is all of it. And Magville, hey, happy to hear that you just picked up your OM3 camera. Super cool to hear. But yeah, I'll continue, and then if you have any questions, just write them in the live chat. Then we'll take it in the end of the session. So let's talk about how we use these photo tips with our storytelling as well. So storytelling, I would say it works when you go and use a lot of photos, a series of photos where you work with wide photos, medium, and tight, because together they create the story and create the narrative. For example, you can start out with a wide establishing shot, go into a medium shot. Like these, just a side note, these photos are taken from my trip to northern Norway last year in January, where I was up and snorkeling around with orcas together with some friends. So in this case, I wanted to share the story where we started out. This is the landscape we were sailing around in. We were out scouting for the orcas. Then they came up close to our boat. We were sailing around. On this day, we had the beautiful cotton candy skies. Then we got into the water. The excitement, as you see, it was high. Lots of good mood around here. And then we went into the water, and and we got to see these orcas very close actually. This photo of the orca I got when we were in the water one of the times, where apparently my friend, he was in the front of me, so I was one of the last guys jumping from the boat, and those 10-20 seconds it takes from the first guy jumping to the boat to the last guy jumps into the water. Sorry, jumps into the water. It can go so fast so that they can already pass by. But here was a group of orcas, around 6 or 7 orcas, and my friend, he was in front of me, and he said that this was a mother swimming around with its baby, and it let the baby continue, and then it took like a circle around again because it had a look at my friend. So it circled around and then it had a look at him again and be like, like kind of like turning the head and be like, hey, what are you doing? And then he continued, and he was so stunned. He was so happy because he was like, oh, I got eye contact with it. So that was super super cool to get that excitement, as you can see here. So, and again, for back to the storytelling, so getting those medium shots, and then make sure to capture some of the details like the curves and the patterns in the water, and getting some portraits of the people that you are with as well. And more medium shots here to just to showcase the orcas swimming away and our friends and the excitement that they have before we continue back on land and getting warm again. As a little side note for this story is that the air was -7 degrees. We were out for 5 hours standing in a wetsuit, and then standing on the boat for it was 5-6 hours, and then the water was probably like around 1 or 2 degrees. So it was actually warmer to jump into the water and be there than it was to stand on the boat and just sailing around and waiting. So, but yeah, a bit of our storytelling. Just to let you guys know, the camera here, remember that this is your tool for sharing all the stories that you want to tell. But your intention and your creativity, that is just as important, and this is just how you get it out there. So if you are aware of your intention and are aware of the different creative possibilities that you have and that you want to play with, then choose a camera that can help you getting there in the best way, I would say. So now we are almost done with the presentation here, and with that said, I would say I have a small present for you guys, because as I said in the beginning, I would like to hopefully inspire you to go out and capture some nice moments and go out on your next photo adventure. So I know that in that way, when you go out, take photos, it's nice to be able to edit them in a fun way. So hopefully you can get some nice shots with the 3 Lightroom Classic presets that I have. I even think that they can work with normal Lightroom as well if you have that. So, but I have 3 different presets that I would like to give you guys. So one of them is called the Gold Meadow, as you can see here, the before and after. And the other one is one that I call the Seaside Sunset. So you can go out and play around with the golden light. And then the third one is the one that I call Stargazing. So hopefully you can go out and play around with taking photos during the day, during the sunset, and during the night as well. So all you have to do is just to send me a text, send me a DM on Instagram, then I'll send you a direct download link with the presets. You can send me a DM on dvphoto.dk on Instagram, and hopefully then if you then use it, then I would love you to tag me when you post the photos or send them to me. Just share it, because I really want to inspire you guys to go out and get going on your next photo adventure. So remember, the last part here is that photography is storytelling. It's about the people that you meet on your trips. It's about the places that you visit, and it's definitely about the memories that you make as well. So go out and get creative and go and tell your own stories out there. So thanks a lot for watching, and you're more than welcome to follow my adventures. As I mentioned before, I am going to Greenland in April to do some ski and sailing there, but also here in March I'm actually going to go to Sweden, which is I'm really excited about that, because I'm going to go to Åre and Storulven to do a hut trip on backcountry skis together with some friends, where we're going to take a night train from Malmö to Aar and then go around for 5 days and then take a train back as well. So I'm really excited about that trip to go and do this in a new way. This is a new travel trip, a travel version for me. So yeah, now I'll just cut back to this camera and let's see. I'll just see if there are any new questions back here. I see Carl. You write, what is your go-to / favorite focal length if you have one? I have a lot, but it all depends on the trip and on the motive. But I would actually say one thing that I have discovered is that a lot of the time I go back to 20 millimeter. This is for some reason is really nice sweet spot. So a lot of the time even when I have a zoom and I zoom in and out, be like, oh, this is the nice focal length. Then I look down and be like, oh, it's 20 millimeter. So I could just bring this one. But I would say after getting this one, I would say this is like 80% of the photos that I take is around this focal length. But on the other side, I would say as you can see, the 17 millimeter f1.8 is also really nice. I would say this and the 25 millimeter, I'm really excited. I'm gonna get them myself. This is just a loan camera, just for information, but I'm gonna get this myself because this is such a nice lightweight setup. And one thing actually that I haven't talked about, it is that when I go traveling, I just like to bring, I don't know, a bag like this, and just to be a bit more discreet, I can actually bring a camera and actually 3 lenses inside this setup here, and being a bit more discreet, I would say, instead of bringing a big obvious camera bag and showcasing that I have a lot of expensive camera gear with me. Then it's nice to be a bit more discreet actually. So the 20 millimeter, super nice. I like it because it's sharp, it's lightweight, and it's weather sealed. But now this is also really nice backup, I would say, like a second focal length, I would say. And otherwise, I have some different lenses here, but the 12 to 40 millimeter Mark II f2.8 is a really nice all-rounder. It's really nice and sharp, and it's really lightweight as well. Yeah, so it all depends. But as I mentioned before, the 8mm f1.8 is really fun to play around with creatively, both with architecture, but especially if you like to take photos of the night sky, northern lights, etc. Then this one is really cool because it gets so much of the night sky. So whenever I take photos of the Milky Way or northern lights, meteor showers, for example, then this is my go-to lens as well. So as you can hear, maybe it all depends. Going out for the night sky, boom, 8mm. Going for a nice lightweight trip, I would say right now I'm like in between, like 17mm or the 20mm. But if it needs to be nice, light and tight, then the 17, this combo is a great one. Hope that worked a bit and helped answer your question. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to send me a DM on Instagram as well after this webinar as well. I would be happy to help out answering your questions as well. So let's just see the video we have talked about. Any changes to the menu in comparison to OM1 Mark II? I would say it's actually the same. So it's the same concept, same menu as the OM1 Mark II. So again, it's actually like the OM1 Mark II squeezed into a smaller camera body. Boom. Here you see the size and the difference. Boom, boom, boom. Hopefully it makes sense. I can try to showcase here. Yeah. This is the 25mm f1.2 lens, the one that I use for portraits and weddings. This is my go-to lens here for that. And yeah, this small case here. So size-wise, same kind of like lighter, of course, but menu-wise, it is the same one. Let's see. Eric says, really nice pictures, great work, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for watching. It means a lot to me as well. So it's really nice to be able to hopefully inspire others as well. This is one of the things that I actually started out with that I really want to do. I used to teach at schools as well, in sports and in dance, but being able to help others and to inspire others, it means a lot to me as well. And sometimes when you sit behind a screen and just maybe sometimes just post on Instagram, it's just you don't get the same feedback as well. So it's just really nice to know that hopefully can inspire someone out there. So thanks a lot. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, Carl says awesome. Thank you. Cool. Not so many questions. It looks like that's all good. Perfect. I hope you got some answers on whatever you wanted to hear, and I hope that you got some photo tips that you can use for your own adventures. I was told from Cyber Photo and Home System that this webinar is gonna be recorded, so it's actually possible for you to watch it afterwards as well. So if you have any questions, let me know. You're more than welcome to send me a DM on Instagram, and otherwise I would say just checking out. There's no more questions. Good. Then otherwise I would just say thank you so much for joining in here, and hopefully get some really nice adventures out there and go and tell your own stories with your new camera or whatever you have back home. I wish you all the best, and thanks a lot for joining in here tonight, and hopefully see you online. You're more than welcome to follow along, dvphoto.dk on Instagram. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks a lot for watching.